Approach, Dozer 122 and Breaker 355 declaring an emergency. Angels 20 inbound for landing. Low on fuel and Breaker 355 is damaged from small arms fire.
Roger 122, state damage.
Breaker 355 is electrical failures with no nav and no receiving comms. Flight controls and other primary systems okay.
122, expect case 3, final bearing 130. Altimeter 2977, negative Marshall. Turn right heading 150, descend and maintain 6,000.
Right to, we'd like a landing configuration check before the turn and descent, please. Dozer 122.
Roger 122, report when ready for descent.
122. 355, I'm slowing now to 220 knots. Okay, let's maintain 220 knots. Your aircraft looks good. Gear and flaps going down on my mark. Gear. Flaps. Look down. Test your control surfaces. Make sure you have it under control. Looking good, Breaker 355. We're ready to go. Approach, Dozer 122 and Breaker 355 looking good. Ready for turn and descent.
122, roger. Turn right now, heading 150, descend and maintain 6,000.
Right to 150, down to 6,000. Dozer 122. Okay, Breaker 355, stay on my starboard side and follow me through the approach. Maintain 220 knots and stay close or you may lose me in the clouds. Here we go. I'm turning right to 150 and descending to 6,000. Good job staying on task in the firefight down there. We saved some lives today. If you hadn't told me to brake when I did, they would have hit me. I owe you one. Good formation position. Good formation position.
Dozer 122, turn left heading 130, final bearing.
Left to 130. Dozer 122. 355, follow me onto the final approach course. I'm turning left to 130 now. Good formation position. 122, platform. Okay, let's level off at 1,200 feet. 122, 10 miles.
Tower, Rescue 592, ready to go for hover port side.
Rescue 592, cleared for takeoff.
592.
We're almost there. Slow to 130 knots and descend to 600 feet. Getting too far out. Bring it closer.
Bingo fuel.
Good formation position.
Bingo fuel.
On course, on glide slope. Begin descent.
Down we go. Stay with me here. Once I have the carrier in sight, I'll break off. You continue the approach. Good formation position. 122, paddles contact, 3/4 mile. Call the ball. 122, Hornet, ball, 1.6. Breaking off, 355 to land. Roger, ball, 355. Check your lineup.
Bingo fuel.
You're slow.
On course, on glide slope.
In this tutorial, you'll learn about basic FA-18 Hornet operations, carrier operations, how to use the catapult, how to fly a VFR pattern, and how to make an arrested landing. As the carrier gets underway, let's go over some of the Hornet systems with the engines off. The Hornet is designed for naval operations. It has very strong landing gear to take the abuse of carrier landings, and a tail hook for quick stops on a short deck. 2 engines provide plenty of power. We won't be going over avionics or doing a thorough cockpit orientation here, but take a look around. Try to locate the main controls you'll use, such as the throttles, gear lever, hook lever, flap lever, and speed brake lever. The Hornet has 6 stages of afterburner, which ignite consecutively as you advance the throttles past maximum military power. The more afterburner you use, the more thrust is produced, and the more fuel is consumed. Don't use afterburner unless absolutely necessary, as its high fuel flow rate greatly reduces aircraft range. Now that both engines are running, release the brakes and ease the throttle forward very slightly. With 2 high-thrust engines, it doesn't take much to get moving. Taxi to one of the 2 catapults on the bow of the carrier. We'll fly a left-hand traffic pattern. The standard VFR pattern from a carrier is flown at 600 feet and 150 knots. But in this tutorial, we'll fly it at 2,000 feet and 200 knots to make it a little easier. When you're near a catapult, lower the launch bar with the controls in the cockpit. Then press Shift-I to attach and arm the catapult. Be sure the brakes are off. Lower the flaps to takeoff position by pressing the F7 key once. When you're ready to go, advance the throttles to full military power. You don't need afterburner to take off using the catapult. Pull back on the stick and climb away from the carrier. Press Shift Spacebar to launch. Climb to 2,000 feet. Don't exceed 200 knots. Raise the flaps. Turn left to a heading of 200 and enter a downwind leg parallel to the carrier. On downwind, you should be level at 2,000 feet, flying at 200 knots. Slow down to 200 knots. Use the speed brake to slow down. Stretching across the deck are 4 cables that the tailhook can hook onto. Extend the gear. Don't flare on landing. Just fly the aircraft directly onto the deck in a tail-low attitude. Don't let your descent rate exceed 700 feet per minute or you might damage the landing gear. Lower the flaps 1 notch for the approach. Lower the tailhook by pressing Shift-Q. Adjust power to maintain 170 knots. Make a 180-degree turn to the left and line up for landing. The landing signal officer will give you some guidance on final if you need it. Wave off means you're not in position to land. Bolter means you missed the cables. In either case, add full thrust, go around and try again. If you trap a cable, the LSO will tell you which one and will announce that the deck is red, unsuitable for landing by other aircraft. Remain above 1,000 feet until you're on a 2-mile final. Adjust power to maintain 150 knots. You're landing on the angled deck, so you need to be to the right of the carrier as you approach. The carrier is heading directly into the wind. To land on the angled deck, you need to compensate for the crosswind. You should be able to see the top of the deck throughout your approach. If you can't see the deck, you're too low. Lower full flaps and maintain 130 knots. Adjust power to maintain 130 knots. Slow to 130 knots for the final approach.
You're fast. .355, 3/4 mile. Call the ball.
The ball is the yellow indicator on the visual landing system on the left side of the flight deck. If the ball is higher than the row of green lights, you're too high. If the ball is lower than the green lights, you're too low. If the ball is red, you're dangerously low. In this tutorial,